The moderator for this panel is architect Jide Adekola, who is the group managing director of Homework Group and an architect dedicated to nation building through innovative real estate development with over 19 years of experience in the built environment, including 11 years leading the Homework Group. A round of applause for him as he comes on stage. Homework people, I will give you assignments in this place, so. The first panelist on this session is Tayo Odunsi. He's the CEO of Build Africa. He's a seasoned business strategist and operator with about 2 decades of practical experience in the African real estate and technology markets, ranging from real estate development, finance investment, and affordable housing. Can we give a round of applause for him? He's not around, however, can we just recognize him? The next person who is going to be on the panel is Lanre Olutimilehin, who serves as the director at Trillium Real Estate Partners. He's an experienced real estate professional with a demonstrated history of working in the real estate industry and is skilled in real estate investment and finance. Can we give a round of applause? Wow. Mr. Lanre is what I describe as stealth mode. I was like, what's happening? Wow, we just, we don't make too much noise. We just move directly. Welcome to our panel session, sir. All right, up next we have Mr. Odunayo Ojo. Can we have a round of applause for him, please? We're going to start the panel session, and then we're going to have discussion. Same way, please, if you have questions, we'll just take 1 or 2 questions because we have to move really quickly. He's the CEO of UPDC. Can we give him a resounding round of applause?
Mr. Jide, how are you guys able to navigate this current multiple forex fluctuation and inflation? I mean, it's never been seen before. At the point I started in my office, and when it was 450,000 to the dollar, or 450 to the dollar, I asked myself, can I start talking to my clients now that it has increased? Then it moved to 700. I was almost picking up the call, and advisors were saying, no, don't call it. It's still going on. I'm trying to buy materials. Some of the suppliers are right. I'm trying to buy materials, and the reinforcement guy is telling me, sorry, if I paid the money, but wait until 12 noon tomorrow, just like the global change guys.
The thing there is, how do you even start the conversation? So how did you navigate through that?
First, I'd like to congratulate the Homework Group. 10 years of doing business in Nigeria is no joke, so a round of applause. And to your question around how do you navigate such volatile as much as possible? So most developers try to sell off-plan and try to sell early because that's a financing mechanism. When you sell off-plan, you raise some funds that you can use to do development, in the future. But the challenge with that is that when you are in a volatile environment and prices start to go up, you've already collected money from deliver. They're going to drag you on social media, and that could damage your reputation. So what we try to do to hedge is to always be certain of our cost profile before we set prices. So a lot of developers set prices based on what they see in the market. So they're currently selling apartments in Lekki for 150 million. So I'll price my units at 150 million and start selling even before I understand what my cost is. But that could be very dangerous because 2 months after you set the price of building materials change. So the first thing is cost certainty as quickly as possible into the development process. Then the next thing is to procure early. So we can't procure all materials up front, but as much as we can, if we can procure a lot of the materials that are open to, let's say, foreign exchange fluctuations, and then we go into some kind of bulk buying up front, if you can buy some of our finishing materials up front, and then we stockpile them and we warehouse them, you know that that cost is already sunk and you are not open to any kind of fluctuations. That has cash flow implications, obviously, because not everybody has all the money to start with. So even do any kind of off-plan sales, it should be to the barest, so that you still have enough inventory to absorb any kind of cost that will change over time. So we are all kind of feeling our way through the challenges. No, 200, 300% depreciation, to the naira. But, the good news is we are seeing some stability in the market currently, and hopefully that continues. Thank you.
Again, one of the things we try to do is to make sure we have practical examples. For me, just the experience alone is Harvard for me. And a lot of it you have to think on the spot. So Lanre, research. With all you've done in terms of sales and marketing and all of that, I'm sure you've got this sort of, clients are complaining about this. Advisory-wise, you've tried to look into the future. How will you see, on the same question, how will you see this situation? And what do you think, what's the pulse of those that are buying, those in the diaspora and all of that?
Thank you, Jide. Also, let me extend my congratulations to you.
Thank you.
As we say in KC, Floriet, you are flourishing. I think the future is definitely bright.
Thank you.
With respect, one other thing I would add to what Mr. Odunayo has said is capital, right? Before I go into your question. So I think that, he will have his own views, but from the outside looking in, UPDC compared to many other developers that are operating in the country has capital. They have better access to capital than many other developers. So they can time better. They probably don't have to rely on off-plan sales, which are the danger where you have committed to a price for a portion of your development. So I suspect that's right, sir.
Yeah, no.
So it's important that looking at the industry, looking at you as an operator, that we deepen your access to capital so that you can scale, you can reduce your unit costs, and you are better able to deliver your product. Moving to your question about data. Market transparency is one of the hindrances to investment and capital in our industry, as well as a lack of standardization. So I think that we are attacking that now. Now we're seeing more platforms where it's easy to see prices, and access it a bit more quickly. So we have the multiple listing platforms that many of us are familiar with, and also investors in the diaspora can access. If I'm permitted to name some of them, Nigeria Property Center, Property Pro. So you just go online, check, and you can see something of a certain description and a price. Also, developers are using the internet. They can advertise their property, put pricing. So there's more access to information, but we need it as a whole to be a lot better organized, right? And more trusted and easy to compare. So I've mentioned those platforms, but we need to do a bit more so that the industry is more investable. Just another example of that is that what is the biggest source of domestic capital today, maybe apart from the banks? It's pension fund money. And these pension funds cannot invest directly in real estate, right? They can only invest indirectly. So we need more vehicles that can allow those pension funds to invest indirectly. So they're capital market vehicles. They have to be registered with the SEC. And then what they might do is they might, Homework may one day sponsor, and I hope we're going to get more of this, may sponsor a REIT. That gives you access to capital, and pension funds can invest through you. But, in terms of that investment, they have concerns, right? I was opportune to speak to a group of risk professionals working in pension fund administrators a few weeks ago. And I talked about investment in real estate, how it's exciting, the kind of returns you can get. But, after I gave my presentation, the regulator from PENCOM stood up and said, well, thank you, sir, for all this beautiful presentation, for your English, but we all know what happens in real estate. So, and what she was referring to is a trust deficit, that am I getting what I'm being told I'm getting? What is the valuation of this thing I've bought? I've bought it at a certain price. Will I go and value it a year later and it's something else? Can I trust that valuation? Am I getting the best rent or yield from that property? So there's a trust deficit that has to be addressed. And over time, the hope is that we're going to get more platforms where there's more information and it's easier to access, and it helps everyone make better decisions. So that you don't necessarily always have to commission a consultant to go and do field work for you. It reduces your costs because you can go and see, okay, this is the preference, this is what people are buying, this is the rent or the yield that anyone that buys my property will achieve. So that's something that over time will have to change, and there are platforms that are working on that now. You might have heard of Estate Intel, for instance. Although, they have some free public information, they have to keep the lights on, so they charge for some of it. But there are platforms like that, as well as, research firms, North Courts. So Mr. Tayo Odunsi, who is my chairman in the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, was the former CEO of North Court. It's a research house, and they do very, very good research. Dear Olutimilehin, where I'm from, we also do that research. And we need to make it available to diaspora investors who are very interested in coming back home, in investing, in deploying capital. And they need to see this data. So it's something that we have to work on. We need more research. We need to deepen it. We need more access to it. Obviously, that's an industry issue. So I'm hoping that Homework and your fellow developers, I know you have associations as well, can come together to allow that to happen.
So thank you, Lanre. Part of why, please, round of applause for Mr. Lanre. So that's part of why we're having this conversation, because we normally have seminars and all of that, and conversations just go on, nothing happens. So I told them that, look, why don't I even start doing something, And for the architects, part of what you're going to see today is a book published called Design Plus Development. So the way you hear design and build, where architects get into build construction, we're trying to see how from schools, they kind of understand what's going on in development space. So it's funny you mentioned rates. The CEO of FRC was here earlier on. We're actually working on something to sponsor a rate, because we've also realized that capital is important. In fact, this whole inflation period has taught us that you can't rely solely on off-plan. And you don't even need to take that conversation anywhere if you were funded. Because by the time you complete the project, for Nigeria, so far as you do a good job, the price will go up. And there are many people that are ready to buy at that price. But just the way we say technology and these platforms are helping people to get the right information, the same technology and platform is denting the image of some developers. And the challenge I have is that they might be attacking some, but indirectly, it affects some of us. You have to first of all talk to them and convince them on how what you're hearing is not us. We don't do this type of business. I mean, your work will speak for you, but I really need to address that because I don't think it's professionally addressed. And I think if the regulatory bodies were doing their work, these people that are trying to stand out to say these things won't have to be the ones doing it. So I don't know, what's your take on, it's something, it's affecting our industry, whether we like it or not. What do you think we can do? Because we have professionals like you, we have Northcourt, yes, if the person is learned enough to go through that, through the ranks to choose what to do, it will be good. But before you even get into your own platform, they've already listened to somebody on Instagram saying something else. So how do you think we navigate that? And how do you think developers that are actually doing the right thing can actually sort of stand themselves out when this type of information is going out? Lanre, you can go first.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jide. A few days ago, earlier this week, I was actually in a roundtable discussion with my boy here, and it was one of the things that came up in a slightly different way. So it's obviously of concern all the way around, and definitely, we always see that developers that have the brand, are better positioned and better able to sell. So a UPDC is easy to trust. We've been here for how many years, sir? Decades,
Decades.
Homework, 10 years. This is the track record. This is everything we have done. And it's usually the first question people ask, like, oh, what have these people done? Have they delivered it? Do they usually deliver? And that's a very big selling point. It's usually the starting point. When you are speaking, when you are trying to sell, a development. What I personally think is that, all the individual voices, you as Homework trying to change the narrative, a UPDC trying to change the narrative, they're all individual voices here. I think, our self-regulatory bodies, REDAN, or our professional bodies, my president is here, FIAPSI, they need to make more noise. They need to be very muscular in addressing these things and putting the mark of quality on projects and on developers. Because, I think over the years, as the industry has expanded, there's a knowledge deficit that we are finding. I don't think many people know, for instance, the industry that regulates estate surveyors and valuers is the NIESV. I'm not sure beyond people in the built industry, there are people that know what the NIESV is. That's the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. So I'll speak for that. I don't know. There are other professional bodies as well. I think some are clearly more out there than others. So and that was one of the things I said to the Lagos State branch chairman of the NISU, which is that we need you need to pull all these voices together. You need to be out there. You need to, if it's public marketing, if it's advertising, if it's putting a mark of quality that, yes, this is a trusted developer, the products can be trusted, this is how to rate it. If there's a problem, we are not ombudsman as well. Come and complain to us, and we'll resolve it. I think that's the best way to actively challenge all these notions and to combat these bad actors. My view.
So, Mr. Odunayo, thank you, Lanre. Mr. Odunayo, very key question. There are certain things that are happening. There's a lot going on now. I try to do some sort of investment. So when I try to do something, I'll go and test it first myself. So we're trying to get a property in Dubai, and we realized that there's actually that whole fractional ownership and co-investment going on already, right? Is this sort of like models that you're looking at in UPDC? And do you think, looking at something like that, and Tayo, please listen to this question because it's for you. So yes, do you think it's something that's visible in Nigeria?
The short answer is yes, it's feasible. And for people that know what we do at UPDC, you know that UPDC is at the forefront of innovation in the industry. As far back as 2013, UPDC was one of the first companies to bring the REIT into the market. So UPDC has a REIT, a real estate investment trust, that is trading on the capital market. If you wanted to buy into real estate and you don't have all the capital, you can buy shares or units in a REIT. It already exists in the market today. So, and there are so many other markets where unitization of real estate investment, now we're even talking about tokenization of real estate investment using blockchain and so many other technology-enabled mechanisms. There's nothing stopping us from doing it in Nigeria. And I'm also aware that the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has licensed one or two operators as a pilot to unitize real estate investments. So if you have a block of apartments or even one apartment that you want to sell, you can break that apartment into 100 units, 10 units, 20 units, and sell those units. So there are already regulations and mechanisms that are being introduced into the market to more or less democratize access to real estate. Because the challenge with real estate is that it's very capital intensive. And not everybody has all the capital on day one to participate. But we all want exposure to real estate. We want exposure to the cash flows. We want exposure to the capital appreciation that we are seeing. You buy a property in Shogotedo for 50 million last year. You come back this year, it's 100 million, and you're like, people are cleaning out. How can I participate in this? But I don't have 100 million. So what do I do? So that would deepen access to wealth creation. Everybody will be able to jump on this and participate. But more importantly, for people like us and people who develop that need constant access to capital, it could also be a fundraising mechanism where you can do collective investment. You can pool thousands and possibly millions of people to raise money to fund investment. Now, the challenge is that it has to be regulated. And that's why we are seeing the lack of regulation is causing the public to rely on other channels of pressure mounting on the industry. So if I can't get recourse through the normal channels, I go to an influencer on Instagram, and the guy will be yelling at the top of his lungs every morning, calling people out, to get attention. So the flip side of that conversation is that there needs to be stronger regulation, monitoring, because you are entrusting your money to somebody who you may not be able to control what they do with it. And because you don't have direct access to the asset itself, you cannot hold the asset, you just hold the unit. It's more difficult than somebody who has bought a house and is living there. You can't drive me out of the house easily. But if I just buy a unit, I can be disenfranchised, almost immediately if I don't have access to the people, the promoters, or I can't call them to book. But yes, there are things in the pipeline, and I believe that's the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, I said, I know you have it, but I said it for the audience. The reason being that, sometimes when you're trying to push something into the market, you realize that those that have done it have, and this is what we're trying to look at, the sort of collaboration that allows people to sort of see that it's possible and then make those moves to be able to, do the same thing. But I like what you said about the morning and night shouting. We are going closer and closer. But I'll go back there again, Tayo. I had asked earlier that we have a lot of platforms that could help you as a diasporan to navigate properties in Nigeria. But they will first listen to a person on Instagram shouting, and they might not be able to decipher, because that comes to them. What can we do?
Apologies that I'm late, and also congratulations, on 10 years. Yes. In fact, why I'm late is because you are meant to be on site. Yes. I'm coming from site,
yes.
and still working together. So, congratulations to Homework, and I know that this is just the beginning for you. I think we are at a crucial point in real estate. Because I straddle a couple of industries, I find that real estate seems like the last industry that is going to be regulated in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, just try and do certain types of business. Before you know it, someone will call and meet you and say, no, you don't have a license to do that. In Nigeria, But in real estate, you're fine. So, you see, it's like how they say, water finding is level. It's a business that needs to be regulated. It's not regulated. So things will happen, and now, there'll be pressure. So that's what we're seeing. And when we talk about regulation, if you're a developer in the room, you may be like, you may think it's an offense to you, but I see regulation as necessary, not for the customer, actually for the developer. What do I mean? I've mentored a number of people that are big in real estate today. Jide, 3 years ago, they knew nothing about sand, talk less of soil test. They knew nothing about reinforcement, talk less of, complex things. They know nothing. Meanwhile, they are big developers today. If that 3 years when they entered real estate, there was some regulation, it will have forced them to learn. It will have guided them. The same way when I enter new industries, because I can't go beyond, so I have to ask questions, I have to learn, I have to scale, so I become knowledgeable. So regulation is needed for us, the professionals, so that we get the requisite knowledge and we don't gaffe, we don't make the mistakes that, some of you're an architect, we are trained. Some of us will look at it and say, this is like a schoolboy error, right? And that's where the problem of collective investment schemes comes in. If you have taken one class on real estate investments, you know that you can't just write letters to the public and ask them to invest in. You know that that's a crime. It is, man. Yes, it is. It's called a collective investment scheme. And so it must take its tenet from the ISA 2007 or 2010 and must have some SEC backing. You have approached the public. Now, you might say, so I can't talk to my friends to buy property from me to come and invest. No, that law also provides that you can talk to a small group and they can appoint you as an experienced, developer. It doesn't call you a developer in that, but someone that is running an investment for them. So these are things that, people need to understand. But people have done it. They've done it without the requisite knowledge, framework. And they've, I don't want to say, because, I've met people that people are looking for. And they told me sincerely, it was a mistake. Tell you I didn't know. Sometimes I say, I should have even come to meet you. I say, yes, you should have, But the reality is, if I just want to be very honest, sometimes they didn't know. And that's what regulation helps with. So, when I hear those guys, I'm not offended. I feel it's going to push the conversation till we ourselves as professionals request for this regulation. That's my opinion.
Some people think we as professionals should be shouting as well. And he was amazed at what we had achieved. And he told me about the same rates and how we can work together. And some of the guys that came to the class were Nigerian Stock Exchange, GMD, and all of that. Now, he opened our eyes to the fact that there's access to capital, but he also showed that not all of us have access to where these things happen, which is part of why we're having these sort of conversations, so I know where to go. He came today. His plan was let them know that we are available, right? In fact, very soon, probably GM of Lapka is going to walk in here. He's an architect, and I told him, look, Oga, come and listen to us. One of the advice we gave was they should try as much as possible to use us professionals on the stage certification.
Yes.
And it shocked me that just maybe last year he sent us a letter telling us, are we interested for our area in Lekki, which is very good. And it shows that, and that came out, by the way, from one of such sessions that we have. So I think it's very key that as we discuss things that we can look at, fractional ownership, co-investments. I mean, I'm doing a mall on Lekki Phase 1. We should be opening it in another month. And we took 25 square meters and said, Um, is it possible to split this into sort of investments of 5 million or 1 million each? However, your returns shouldn't be by rent, it should be by capital appreciation. So that means when you now sell it at the end, you can now share the returns. I'm taking this back to fractional ownership because there are just a few properties you can do the kind of rates you do abroad where you're collecting rent. I mean, just imagine 80 million naira, 120 million naira property, you get 16 million naira rent, and then every year they share 60 million with 30 people. You know, in your mind, you're like, what's that? But if you did capital appreciation within 12 months, it will make a lot of money. So I still want to go into that. I mean, I have people that are trying to do things like this now, and I want to go into what you think can really work, right? But before you go in, Tayo, Mr. Odunayo, you have it already. How does it work? Say, for instance, I am coming in to, is it via shares or with the rates? How does it work? Like, to the layman, you know, most of the things we speak is English, you know. The architects were here earlier. I just saw everybody looking at like, oh, I pity them. But, I mean, now I want to speak the language of those that are listening.
Okay, so in simple terms, right, what a REIT is a collection of buildings, a collection of assets that is being professionally managed, and the returns of those assets is being shared by a group of people who have put money into the investment. So I'll use the REIT that we have as an example. We have a REIT that has 6 assets in it. Some of them are residential, some of them are commercial, some of them are retail, and some of them are students' housing. So we own these assets, we put it together into a trust, and then people were required to buy units into that trust. So the total value of the asset was divided into a number of units, and people were asked to come and buy at the opening price. So let's imagine that the opening price was 50 kobo at the time. People bought 10 units, 3 units, 5 units, 100 units, and then every year, when we earn rents from those 6 assets, after the normal outgoings, maintenance and other direct costs, the net rent is distributed to all the unit holders in relation to the units that they own. And the good thing about the REIT is that the SEC, because you are distributing a lot of what you are earning as rent, you're actually required to distribute about 90% of the net rent. You are not taxed as a REIT. So it's very tax efficient, something that is good for people that want cash flow. So to your point around rental distribution and capital appreciation, it's not everybody that needs capital appreciation. There are some people who just need the cash flow. Let's say you are retired now. All you just need as a retiree really is cash flow to maintain your lifestyle, to make sure that you keep the lights on. You are not really investing in a lot of hopefully you are not investing in a lot of new things at that time of your life. You just want cash flow to flow through your account so that you can pay for your day-to-day expenses, medicals, transportation, and things like that. So the REIT is very good for that. And there are different types of REITs. The REIT that we have is an equity REIT. So the units have been invested, and your return primarily is the rents that we get. Now, as the REIT also does better, and as the underlying capital appreciates, the price of the units on the capital market also appreciates because people are trading them. And then for people that want capital appreciation, you could buy it for 50 kobo, and then it goes to 5 naira. When you sell it, get your capital appreciation out as well. So the advantage of a REIT is that more often than not, it is listed on the capital market, and that converts a rather illiquid real estate asset to a liquid asset that you can buy and sell whenever you want. So it's very, very efficient, and because it also has tax advantages, in the hands of the people who have invested, they get a lot more from the property than they would have if they had owned the property directly. There are other mechanisms that the SEC have now introduced beyond a REIT. So you could do a property trust, you could do a property company. These are ways in which the indirect real estate investment can be improved in the market.
Thank you so much. I think the fact that it's practical, I'm happy that we're getting it from you and maybe not a regulator, because that way it's practical, we can understand it. I mean, for me, it's even clearer, and that's thank you for this. Lanre, globalization. Just mixing up with the Kenyans, I realized that what we're doing in Nigeria, they see it as a big deal. First of all, you don't even have to earn dollars. You don't have to leave Africa to earn in dollars. So for those that want to expand, those that want to go beyond Nigeria, even to foreign countries, do you see any hitches? Do you see any problems? Is it possible?
Okay. So, that's an interesting perspective that the Kenyans view what we're doing here as big, because I think they have a much more developed and mature real estate market than ours in terms of institutionalization, right? So before going to your question, for money to flow into our industry in a big way, and for us to scale rapidly and more effectively, we need to move from the fragmentation we have, the informality, right? As my chairman, my chairman in RICS, so the informality that we have and the inefficiency, we need to move from that into something that's much more organized and investable. And the Kenyans, I think, so when you look at sub-Saharan African real estate markets that have done this very effectively, you have Kenya, I think you have South Africa, obviously. So I think those are benchmarks for the rest of us in terms of organization, market transparency. And that means that whenever an investor, from outside, and I'm talking about an institutional investor now, they're likely to prioritize Kenya ahead of Nigeria, because they might struggle here with some of the complexities that we've mentioned. So going into development, my chairman mentioned that there are people that are developing that did not know a lot of things, or the information is not somewhere that it's easy to access and process. In fact, over 10 years, you know what you have learned. You know the things that an outsider does not know. You know what to sidestep. So, we need to find a way to better organize all this information so that, and I'm glad to hear about your book, that it's a starting point. My chairman also mentioned that there's no regulation. I think if you've contravened in Nigeria, at least in Lagos State, you'll find out that there's regulation. I guess the challenge is that where am I going to find all this information, learn what to do, and know how I'm going about it, how I'm doing my development, who is going to mentor me, who is going to see me through, who is going to certify that I know what I'm doing, which goes back to what I was talking about, which is the professional bodies being much more active, being able to self-regulate in the true sense of the word, right? And also how this information can be accessed. Again, I'll go back to North Court. So North Court, if you need any information about different things, laws, regulation, just go on their website. I always, I'm one of those people, and I'm very grateful that you don't charge for that information. So we need to have that. the other thing, and it can be difficult to access information. I think, in terms of planning as a developer as well, okay, what can I build in a certain place? What are the rules? Thankfully, Lagos, I think, has improved in terms of, okay, these are the planning orders. You can now go online, LabSCA website, get the various regional plans or area plans and the planning orders. But outside Lagos, maybe a few other states, it's very difficult. I don't want to mention, but I have clients that will come and they're asking about, I want to build something in a certain state. It's an industrial facility. What do I need to do? For that, you can't find it anywhere online. It's not readily accessible. You have to go to an office somewhere, meet them, ask who to speak to before you get anything. So that is something that we need to address. So going back to your question, sorry about that long intro. In terms of going outside and going beyond Nigeria, I don't think that is an issue, right? Again, it will be the same sort of questions. What do I need to do development in this country? What are the rules? How do I have to register? Who do I need to work with? Where am I going to get financing? It's information, right? So I think that luckily, we are lucky in Nigeria in the sense that, we've talked about the diaspora, we talked about the capital they have and their interest in inflows into Nigeria and into our real estate market. And we also have local capital, right, that is also looking for where to go, right? So, for instance, we know that there's a long-established flow of capital to the UK, to Canada, to the United States, and even Dubai, the UAE, right? And that's, again, for financial planning, to earn foreign exchange, to hedge exposure. So I don't think that there should be any issue with a developer or someone here going there and understanding the market, following the rules, being properly regulated, and then pulling capital together to make the investments in those places. And, the good thing is that it's easier because there's information, right? Yes. So there's information, it's easy to access, and you are, the right type of advice, professional advice, you are less likely to get into trouble.
Thank you so much. That was very apt. It's also funny you mentioned where you can get information. The second book, I didn't pay you for this. So. The second book has, we just felt that, is there somewhere you can go as a guide to just simple, who do you meet for approvals? What do you do? What are the bodies? That's what we just try to do. Just trying in our own way, little way to just, help people to navigate. And this will just take me to Tayo's last question, and then we just have questions from the audience. Partnerships and collaboration. I feel that that's lacking in our ecosystem. We have a lot of fragmented, I look at the Jews and I schooled in Birmingham, the Asians. You see what they do. This is why I'm not very happy about the people shouting online. Because the truth is that those that are even trying to make it happen, you're pulling them down. So it's even better for you to just do it the right way. But you see them and you see the way they work together. So for me, I want you to speak on partnerships and collaboration in the real estate industry and how you think we can look at things better moving forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. As you were speaking, I remember I think it's an African saying, right, that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I think that's very apt because I want to speak to why we don't see a lot of them, because people want to go fast. You're in uni, as you graduate, the next thing you really want is not a career. What you want is what? You want to what?
You want to hammer.
You want to hammer.
To hammer.
You want to hammer. right? And that's one of my grouse, with social media. It's popularized a lot of stuff that is anti-building a career because you see there is nothing. You are here today, and you are solid today because of the career you've built. Before you built that career, there was homework inside you. You could have unleashed homework, but something or someone, maybe mentors, said, go and learn, go and build a career. You were always an entrepreneur. You were always entrepreneurial, but you built a career first, right? That has changed. I discuss with a lot of young people. When I say young people, early 20s, right? And just trying to get a sense. And what I see is, I want to hammer. So I think that is at the bedrock of it, of why we don't see many partnerships. Also, I think the second reason is rule of law and structuring, right? Because largely, we are in a society where consequences, don't really matter, and people are not clear on structures, right, that exist that can make partnerships work in any shape or manner. If you have the right structure, right, I'm going to be hyperbolic. A policeman and a thief can enter a partnership. Yes, with the right structure. And I always give this example. That's why where we go to and we see examples of partnerships that have worked is in the legal profession. Because they understand the structures they can put in place. And they know that you can't do anything and step out and go and continue your own, so to say. The way I'm going to do my own. Someone just leaves the office that day and doesn't turn back again. You just realize that time that he left, he went to start his own. But in the legal profession, you can't practice by just walking out, right? Because, their body, the MBA is going to prevent one or two things, and all of that. So I think that's the second reason why we don't see, a lot of these patterns. So people say it has to do more with our DNA and everything, but I don't agree because I believe we are more communal. We do things together. So it's anti our DNA, if you ask me, right? So I think we just need to, attack those two mentalities, that, are negating partnerships in our industry, because the reality is that it's very hard for one person, one intelligent, entrepreneurial guy to build a solid legacy building institution. It's going to be very difficult. Ordinarily, there are common moving parts in a real estate business, whether in professional services or development. One person has to have, and there are even a couple technical skills that are needed. You can be good in design, or your partner can be good in actual construction, but those are technical skills. Who is good at business operations? Yes. Who is good at sales? Who is good at finance? Who is good at finance? Who may be good at compliance? So I've already listed out a six-man partnership in a property development company. Similar for any professional services and things like that. There are too many roles and too many skills that are needed, right, that can bring a partnership. All we then need is the structure that makes sure everyone is properly rewarded, for their work. I remember when I was going to found Northcourt, like literally months just before, I was in a gathering and a lady was talking. If I mention her name, many of us would know her. And she said something, and that really helped me, right? She said a lot of times when we hear partnerships don't work or partnerships fail or this thing, and people always say, I'm sure it's money that made them fight. She said, it's not money that usually makes people fight in partnership. That money is how you count it, She said what usually makes people fight is the extent of work done. Is the extent of work. One person feels he has done this much and is getting only this much. So that person can go in a couple ways that people think that's what caused the fight. That person can now all of a sudden, because he believes this is the work he has done and this is what he's entitled to, he can now put his leg on this. People now say he stole money or he did money. No, the problem was always he did more than others and, things like that. Or, you get the point, right? Or there's a partnership we've said is 50-50. All of a sudden, I'm doing 90% of the work. But because we've said it's 50-50, you are still collecting 50. Now, you, the 90 person, can now go one way, can now step on the money and take your 90 that you feel is this thing. That other person will go out and say he did what? Yes. He stole money. He's not going to say he did 10 instead of doing 50. So those are some of the issues. But I personally feel it's not against our DNA to collaborate and work together. If you've traveled far and wide and you've met different kinds of people, you'll realize that Nigerians are some of the people that are easiest to make friends and easiest to make deep friendships.
Yes.
Deep friendships. Just like we say, enter each other within a very short period of time. Yeah. We are trusting, we are loving, and all of that. And if we bring that to business, we must put the necessary structures. If not, these issues will crop up, and then we'll then say partnerships don't work. But partnerships can work. We just need to put those right structures in place.
Together. Thank you, Tayo. I don't know if you have any questions. I have to say this here. The first loan I ever collected, Mr. Ayo was working for a mortgage bank at that time. He was the MD, and I don't think I qualified really in terms of what they look at. But he trusted and gave it to me, and he's left that bank, but that bank is still giving me money till today. So a round of applause for Mr. Ayo. And incidentally, sir, you want to ask a question. No, I hope it's not for me, sir.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I think as an industry, we have to be very careful asking for regulation. This is a small gathering, and we're going to have bigger gathering. I've been working in a regulated industry for 11 years. The one where I am now, I have to interface with a lot of regulators on behalf of mortgage banks. Talk to CBN, I was with them yesterday. Please, as an industry, don't ask for regulation. You can self-regulate. Regulation is good in other climes, but in Nigeria, because the people that will eventually be set up to regulate you are people that know nothing about your industry, and you have no say about it. One of the reasons why you can't get money from pension fund is because most of the people in PenCom know nothing about your industry. We work with them. 10 years ago, mortgage banks, at my former mortgage bank, we went to Canada, and we went with some people from Central Bank, and to talk about an NMRC, to understand the Canadian mortgage banking sector. The 2008-2009 subprime crisis that led to the stock market crash and go rally was due to improperly structured mortgage banking products. So Canada was incubated from all this. So let's go study it. And we came up with the idea of using a part of your pension contribution to drive you being able to purchase housing. And it took 8 to 9 years. And at the end of the day, what we have is what we have. We ask for half of it for you to be able to invest, but we have 25%, which is good. But in dealing with PenCom, I realized that most of those people, they are not people that understand your market, they understand your business, so they don't appreciate. So when you go and do presentation, the problem is the root. So please, as an industry, I know you people know more than me, sorry. Don't sit down at a round table and ask for regulation. Ask for self-regulation. You have Redan, you have others. I think in the production side, there's already a lot of regulation. You need building approval, you need professionals stamping your drawings, being on site. You must have some level of current or engineers that are registered to do that. That is one. I'll talk about excellence. I see planning and reputation. They are intangibles. Most of real estate developers don't like planning, financial planning especially, and that is why UPDC is still standing. You know, my guy, even I've known him for more than 20 years. When I was sitting behind the desk here in ARM, 2006-7, they were already setting up UPDC REIT. They have chief financial officer, executive director level. They have chief commercial officer. So let's leave commercial officer, let's come to financial officer. There's this thing with financial planning that developers don't like doing. You are not omni-woman. You know about either to build or to sell. You don't know about financial planning. Get someone to help you with it. Because the cost of money is also 30%. UPDC is intra or what they call it, transfer pricing. You get money from a part of the group that has cash, comes to you at 30%. So why not sell some of your unit off plan at 20% below? Because that's cheaper than getting 30% money. So when you do financial planning, it ups you. How many units do you need to sell in your phase 1? At what point do you jump to your phase 2 or your phase 3? Then the second one is reputation. You know what it means. Reputation means that people that buy from you, they get your next product. Reputation means when you have challenges, you communicate transparently and honestly to stakeholders, including your buyers. So those are the two major important things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right. Yes, I think it was a wonderful session. I'm sure we learned a lot. Thank you so much for honoring us. Who wanted this? Let's quickly take, just quickly. Let's.
A good friend of Homeworks, and congratulations again.
Thank you, sir.
Mine is a comment. We're talking about trust deficit in the industry. I am in oil and gas, and I'm also a lawyer by profession. And when the gentleman was talking about partnership, I think one of the missing links in your industry is you've not properly embraced the lawyers. And I'm not advocating for myself. I'm just talking to protect your industry. Because what does a customer want? You advertise a property, this property is 100 million to be ready in 2 years. And I pay my money. And at the end of 2 years, you tell me, no, I can't get the property because the cost is now 200 million. I'm not in support of them going to the press or going to the social media or what have you. But you've breached something. I think you can better package yourself or package your commercial so that when you're sending out your offer, you put the variable as well.
Inside it.
In terms of, the inflationary index, you incorporate it into your agreement. Yes, this property is 100 million. However, due to inflationary trend, if it exceeds this 2% or 5%, it will go up by this. And I think you will have protected yourself a great deal. So in your planning, in your establishment, have a lawyer as well to help you with all this as much as you have the financial planning.
Thank you so much. I think it was a very insightful session. Let's know by the show of hands if it was. Thank you very much.